What's up, y'all? I'm Aaron Sawyer,
I'm Matt Michaels.
and this is the Refreshed Cast. And today we're going to be talking about detox and why it's important to detox, what kind of detoxes there are. So I really just want to give Matt, the detox specialist, the floor on this one and let him speak his mind.
Definitely, man. Ready to speak it.
Dude, what is detoxing?
Yeah, so essentially, we talked about it before. There's 80,000 different toxic chemicals that have been introduced to the human population in the last 100 years. Not to mention the fact that all of our food has been genetically modified or altered. It's not in its natural form anymore. And so, yes, the body detoxes itself, but if you're constantly overburdening the body with this excess amount of toxins, then the body's going to need support in order to help those elimination channels get all that stuff out of the body. So that's probably the most common argument I get, is that the body detoxes itself, and that is correct. But the body was not designed to be coming in contact with the amount of toxicity that we're coming in with today. And if you look at a lot of these chronic diseases, they're all caused by toxin accumulation and poor nutrition. And when I say toxin accumulation, that's physical toxins, but it's also emotional toxins. I think that's something that's really overlooked in the natural healing world as far as with naturopathic doctors. So releasing the trauma, the emotions, and the physical toxins from the body.
Okay, great answer. Let me see if you can answer this one. Who needs the detox?
So if you are living in America today, you need to detox. Hands down. And I think there's a big misconception about what chronic disease is. So if you break down a disease, it's dis-ease, right? So people think of chronic disease as they're stuck in bed, they can't function, and that's the irony, is that the average American is so sick, and everybody is so sick, that they can't even recognize that they are chronically sick in this moment. So people with chronic allergies or chronic gut issues after a meal, that is chronic dis-ease. And those are some of the easiest things to reverse just by cleansing the body. So if you think about allergies, we have a lymphatic system, which is the cellular waste removal system. It's the sewage system of the body. And when it becomes so full, think about it as a cup. And so if you're this full in your cup, anything that comes in is going to cause an overflow. And that overflow is going to cause detox reactions in order to purge that excess. So we become so toxic that now nature causes that overflow. Pollen is causing people to detox and creating all these allergies. But what people don't understand is that you don't just get allergies. That's caused by toxin accumulation, poor nutrition, and things like that. So as you empty the cup, then allergies go away.
Yeah.
Then all these gut issues go away. So it's just this slow draw of emptying the cup.
Okay, so are there various ways to detox, or
There is as many ways to detox as there is to accumulate those toxins, for sure. So there's all different types of detox modalities, which we'll talk about today, different ways of purging the body, of doing different flushes. But ultimately, the beginning phase is all about just getting your nutrition in order, getting your water in order, just the primary staples of human health.
Okay, so what has been your experience before we dive into the different types? What has been your detox experience? I want a little bit about your background to what got you to the detoxification. What kind of detoxification processes you endured?
So I struggled with my health since I was a kid, and by the time I was a teen, I started to suppress my symptoms with drugs and alcohol. So I just numb myself out. So I had chronic gut issues. I was literally shitting blood on a regular basis. Every meal caused tremendous pain. I was dealing with chronic pain everywhere in my body. Depression, anxiety, hypothyroidism, so chronic fatigue, all of it. And I really couldn't find any solutions through the Western perspective. Just more drugs or removing organs, all that good stuff, which was recommended to me. Yes, and so that didn't resonate with me at all. So I started researching nutrition, started changing my diet, got some benefits. Eventually, I found a naturopathic doctor. And after a couple of months of working with him, all of my symptoms went away. And that blew my mind that, there actually is a solution for this stuff. Yeah. And it comes from nature. So that was a really mind-expanding moment for me, but I kept falling back into chronic illness because I didn't understand what diet I needed for me specifically. I didn't understand the toxic burden and how to keep yourself in a constant state of detox, which is why I focus on a detox-focused lifestyle. I didn't understand the importance of mindset, spiritual development. So it wasn't until I really got into detox, into fasting, and into doing the mental, spiritual work that I was able to get well and stay well. And that's why my program is holistic. We're focusing on the body, the mind, and the spirit. So we're detoxing all areas.
Dude, I love that. Like, what does your detox protocol look like?
Yes, you asked me that. Yeah, so when I first got into it, I transitioned to veganism, then raw veganism, then fruitarian. And so the whole idea is to eat a really simple diet that is hydrating and astringent so it starts to clean out the system. And so I still like putting people on some juice cleanses or fruit fasts to really clean up that system. Or some people, like we've talked about before, sometimes I put people on just meat and fruit. So it depends on their specific needs. But for me, it got into implementing fasting in my life on a regular basis. So I actually took a year off of work, cashed out my stocks, and spent an entire year just fasting my ass off and detoxing. And that looked like doing different types of enemas, different flushes, such as castor oil flushes, saltwater flushes, liver and gallbladder flushes, doing all these different types of enemas. I did around 25 colonics, which is like a high-powered enema. It just fills up the colon, sucks it all up. Fills up the colon.
It's like the same bucket, or like what?
Yeah, so it's this filtration system that's attached to the wall. And so it fills you up with water, and then it sucks it all out, and then it puts new water back in.
Do you like go to a guy?
Yeah, I went to a guy, and like I said, I did 25 rounds of them.
Wow,
bro,
dude.
And the shit that comes out of you, bro, is gnarly. Like, you have these crazy colors, bright greens, yellows, black stuff coming out. You see parasites coming out. It's gnarly, dude.
Dude, 25. You put your reps in, man. Like, I trust a guy that's done 25 colonics. I know about colon pain, but that's probably what we're trying to do.
I knew about that too, yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. So, like, there's so many ways. It sounds like there's a lot of ways to get to where we want to go. And I think people are kind of scared, but they also underestimate the flushes. Like the saltwater flushes, the enemas. Like, I put off my first enema for months.
Totally.
And now I'm like, can't wait till my next one, because I'm like, I like feeling empty and pure.
Yeah, definitely, man. And people are incredibly resistant to the colon cleansing at first, but once you experience it and you see what comes out of you, you start seeing parasites, like, people are sold.
Yeah, dude. Once you're like, oh, that's in me, like, what the fuck else is in me, dude?
Yeah. I gotta show you some of these photos I've been collecting this past week from a client. It is gnarly, bro. So
good, man. We'll use them in an ad.
That's
what it is.
I got lots of them, bro. I got lots of them.
You hear that? Matt got pictures of Dookie.
So much, bro.
Nice, but they have to hit me up. Media strategist, match made in heaven. Okay, so we got like the nutrition detox, water, mindset, meditation, breathwork. Like, let's talk about that.
So the core foundations for the program is one, nutrition, finding the diet that works best for the individual to support them through that process. So all disease is caused by nutritional deficiencies and toxin accumulation. So number one is getting the diet in check and eliminating all the foods that are creating an inflammatory response within the body. Number two is getting your water right. We are primarily water. And so tap water is full of fluoride, chlorine, pharmaceutical drugs, microplastics, you name it. It's all in there. So we're showering in that. We're drinking that. So getting a good high quality filter, reverse osmosis, or distilling your water, getting a shower filter that gets all that stuff out. Because it's not just about getting the toxins out. It's about reducing the amount of toxins in your environment. So you're eliminating that as well. And then mindset. So the body follows the mind. So if you have been in a state of chronic illness for so long, that becomes your neural pathway.
Right.
And you keep living in that. So focusing on things like meditation and journaling to start to change your mindset, change your perspective. If you don't believe you can get well, then you won't. Mm-hmm. And so you have to start to cultivate this belief that the body is designed to heal, which it is. And it starts with that belief system, and the body will get into alignment with that belief system. And what that comes with any type of spiritual practice, like yoga, meditation, breath work, all those things are absolutely essential. And breath work is key because we detox 71% of toxins through the breath. Mm-hmm. And then oxygen is our primary nutrient, right? You can go You can go months without food, you can go a week without water, but you can only go a couple minutes without breathing, right? So you need that primary nutrient, and you can detox through the breath as well.
Dude, 71%.
Dude, it's gnarly.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. And like I can feel where like, you know, in the detox process, especially for like the newbies, it's before it becomes a lifestyle. It's like this up and down.
Totally, man. It's
up
never
and down.
linear.
And I can feel like, whenever I start smoking weed again, I'm like, oh, my mucous membrane is filling up,
Yeah.
filling up. And then I'm like, am I just going to keep smoking weed until there's just this overflow and I catch some weird sinus thing? But I'm grateful that I have the wisdom of, oh, I don't just randomly have allergies. It's because of what I'm putting into my body.
Totally.
So I need to make sure that I'm clean and doing the right things, thinking the right way. Like, I love what you said about mindset, where these parasites, as above, so below, as within, so without. So if there's a parasite within you, there's a mental parasite
Totally.
that directly coincides with that.
Totally. And I do want to touch on, too, we have this perspective of, all right, you're diagnosed with this chronic disease, and these are the symptoms that go along with that. But those symptoms are the body's way of removing the toxins from the body. So everything that we call disease is actually detox in the first place. So people are detoxing whether they're aware of it or not. So pain in the body, coughing, mucus discharge, nausea, vomiting, those are all detox reactions because the body's trying to get those toxins out. And I think it's interesting, like, when working with other addicts, when you get off of heroin or cocaine or anything, you go through a detox process in which you're eliminating all those chemicals that you've been ingesting. So the Western perspective calls it withdrawals, but your body's not like, oh, I need more Coke to survive, I need more Xanax to survive. It's the removal of all those toxins that you've been accumulating. And if you keep putting in more toxins, then the body can't detox. So once you strip it, then the elimination begins.
Yeah, like let's say you're like detoxing from benzos and alcohol, but you're still eating Twix bars. You're only doing some of the work. I mean, definitely stay off the benzos and the alcohol, but the Twix bars aren't helping, and like people don't think about it. They're like, man, I kicked the drugs. Why do I still feel like shit all the time? Well, it's like, well, let's look at the Mountain Dew you got.
Right. All the other drugs that you're still consuming, essentially.
Yeah, that's where you come in. That's where I think your like superpower is like, helping people take their health to the next level, where it's like all the drugs you're still consuming. Like most people don't know that there's exposed to 80,000 toxic chemicals any given Sunday.
Yeah.
And like.
And most people don't realize that sugar is a drug, that caffeine is a drug. All of these things are drugs. And food is the most abused drug in the United States.
Dude, food is a weird one, too, because I'm like, I can get away with it. Eat a bag of popcorn. It's like, God, who hurt you? Dude, I'm wondering, like you said, like caffeine. I'm excited for the caffeine episode, dog. That one's going to be trippy, because caffeine is one of those things that it has an effect on adrenals. It puts you into fight or flight. So we got 350 fight or flight human beings as a country. It's like, no wonder we can't chill, you know?
For sure.
I want to go like month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, kind of see what what I can expect if I'm going through a full process with you.
Absolutely. So I start with doing a biofeedback scan for every individual. So you hold this device and it comes back with imbalances, deficiencies, the types of toxins in the body, physical and emotional, organ stress, and then what kind of diet's going to be best to bring balance, what kind of supplements are going to bring balance. So I can develop an individualized blueprint for each person before we start the process. Now, I break my program down into 4 sections. So number 1 is gut. So all disease begins in the gut, all death begins in the colon. So obviously, if that's where death and disease begin, then that's where healing begins as well. So we start with cleansing the colon. So we introduce water enemas to clean out the colon. We introduce a gut-friendly diet to help heal the gut. We use different products to help heal the gut. And then we'll transition into baking soda and sea salt enemas, which is going to be a deeper cleaning for that colon.
I love those, bro. That's the stage that I'm at right now. I love the sea salt and baking soda. It's like the water one, at first I'm like, okay, whoa, this is tricky, right? But the sea salt and the baking soda,
It does. It causes a lot more flushing effect, and it alkalizes that environment, which kills off any candida, bacteria, fungus, or parasites that are in there as well. In fact, I have a client right now where I've only been doing water enemas with her, and she's already releasing all these parasites, super gnarly, because she's been so backed up for so long. She literally released an entire nest. Nuts. So basically, think of the body as a tubing system from mouth to anus, right? And so we are working our way up from the bottom up. So we clean out the colon, then I start having clients do saltwater flushes. And a saltwater flush is the only thing that I'm aware of that cleans up a small intestine. So it's actually an ancient yogic practice where you're drinking this big cup of salt water with another salt water, sipping on it back and forth. And after about an hour, you're going to have projectile Hershey squirts. You're just going to be releasing all this craziness. And that cleans out that small intestine. So if you have issues like SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth, it'll help to clear that out. It'll increase nutrient absorption because everything's absorbed in that small intestine.
And this is month 1, right?
This is month 1.
Let's go. I need to do that. I need to do the
You should,
salt
man.
one.
It's awesome.
Let me help you too.
So like the yogis use it because not only does it clean out the small intestine, but it clears the etheric field, which is the emotional body. So it's great for those dealing with depression and anxiety or feeling creative blocks. Really, really good stuff. It's one of my favorite flushes, actually.
I got a battle coming up, man. I'm about to, he don't know what's going to hit him. I'm going to clear my emotional body. That's crazy, dude. So month 1, you're still rocking. So you got the water enemas, the baking soda, and sea salt. Then you got the saltwater flushes, right? So you're drinking the sea salt instead of...
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And then the last thing that I do during that phase is a castor oil flush. So castor oil is a heal-all remedy, man. It's been used for millennia. And it's very anti-parasitic. So when you take it orally, it helps to clear out the colon, clear out parasites. It's really good stuff.
How much castor oil do you drink? Whatever you do.
So 1 to 2 tablespoons and 4 ounces of warm lemon water.
That's all it takes, huh?
Yesterday.
Just a couple of those and you're ready to go. Okay.
Yep.
All right, man. What about month 2?
So after we've done that focus and work on the gut, then we're going to move into liver, gallbladder. So again, we're working our way up. So when you clean the liver and gallbladder, they dump into the small intestine to be released out the colon. So we've cleared out that pathway, and now we're focusing on the liver and gallbladder. So during this phase, we switch products to help decongest the liver and gallbladder to break down the stones and the excess bile waste that's in there. So the liver and the gallbladder, the liver creates the bile, and the bile is dumped from the gallbladder whenever you eat fat to help with the breakdown of fats and the absorption of those fats. So if we've been eating all this fake processed foods, we've had all these toxins build up within the gut, and then that's absorbed into the liver. And so you start to create this thick toxic sludge. The gallbladder can't dump it appropriately. You start to form gallstones. And gallstones is the top reason why gallbladders are removed. And I believe it's somewhere like 70% of people are having their gallbladders removed these days.
70% are having their gallbladders? Like, that's insane.
That's probably an over-exaggeration, but it was incredibly high. It is the most popular surgery out in America right now.
So they just be snipping galls for no reason. And I also feel like they need to mention that while people are going through these processes, correct me if I'm wrong, like you're meeting with them on a weekly basis.
Every week. Yeah, and which I'll get into a little bit. So like I give people different challenges each week, different fasting protocols, different flushing protocols, and it looks different per person.
And there's a mental, emotional aspect. That's dope, and that's where like I feel like, you know, your loving compassion doesn't always get captured on camera because we're like, those are chemicals, you know, but like I've seen you walk people hand in hand through some amazing transformations.
Totally, man. And in fact, I've learned the longer that I do this, most of my work is more like a therapy session, allowing them to dump the traumas and the emotions and really working through all of that and releasing that. So when we get to the liver gallbladder aspect, I start having them use coffee enemas. And so I use coffee enemas because the caffeine is absorbed through the hepatic vein and it causes the liver and gallbladder to contract and dump excess bile. So people who have that bile issue, it's going to help to increase that flow and get things moving. It also increases your glutathione production by 600 to 700%. And glutathione is the master antioxidant. So that's going to literally, if you think about oxidation as your state of aging, so antioxidants slow aging. So the higher levels of glutathione, the slower that you age, and the more effectively that you can eliminate the toxins that are being released during this whole process. The other cool thing about coffee enemas is it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So you mentioned fight or flight before. Most of us are living in a constant state of fight or flight. And when you do coffee enemas, it activates the rest and digest. So it's interesting, when you drink it, it's instant fight or flight. When you use coffee enemas, it actually does the opposite. It puts you in rest and digest. And that's so big for healing. If your nervous system is all dysregulated, then you're not going to be able to heal. So this will help to regulate that nervous system. And then the last thing that I do with people during that phase is a liver gallbladder flush, where it's like 5 days of prep work. You're storing up your excess bile. Then you're going to drink a mixture of the day of. You take a bunch of Epsom salts, and then you're going to drink a mixture of grapefruit juice and olive oil, and you drink it all at 10 p.m. And the next morning, you're going to wake up and start flushing stones out, which I have lots of pictures of those too.
This gets me excited to like detox. Like I feel like everybody needs this, and I feel like these are some things that, you don't. They over time you'll save so much money. Like you're thinking about, so like people are thinking about booking with you. Oh, I don't know, man. I'm back and forth. It's like, what about the tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of surgery you're gonna need? For how much is a fucking gallbladder removal surgery, bro? Probably like
a lot.
Dude.
I guess the insurance covers it, is that whole trap, because the insurance will cover that. And people with gallbladder issues, I know because I struggled with gallbladder issues since I was a kid, and it's painful, man. It's excruciatingly painful, and it just destroys your whole digestive system as well. And it's because of the sludge or the stones that have built up. And people just don't realize that you can get those stones out. The Western medicine perspective will tell you that there's no getting them out. There's nothing you can do.
No doctor's finna prescribe the what is it?
The liver gallbladder
grapefruit juice and olive oil?
No one's gonna.
Is that what it is? Is that the combo? What about the grapefruit juice interacting with the olive oil makes it so powerful for the gall?
Okay, cool. So for one, first you start with drinking Epsom salts twice before you do that mixture. And the Epsom salts relax the bile ducts so that these stones can actually come through. And then the mixture, grapefruit causes the gallbladder to contract. And then you're taking all this oil, and taking that massive amount of oil and fats is going to cause this massive dump from the gallbladder, because it's going to try to break down and absorb all that fat.
Okay.
So it's going to do a mass bile dump. And since you've relaxed the bile ducts with the Epsom salts, the stones can actually come through. And you're preparing for 5 days taking malic acid, and malic acid softens the stones, so they'll come out soft rather than super hard. So that's what makes all of it able to come out through the colon.
Oh, and this is month 2.
This is month 2.
Where are people at typically whenever you're with your... Month 1 is just getting their feet wet, kind of getting the hang of things, probably super stoked about the initial like weight loss, or just how they feel, like, wow, I can't believe I feel so much better. Month 2 seems like a feet to the fire. Let's really take it to the next level. Where are people at? And then I want to transition to month 3.
Oftentimes month 2, like, people are excited. Month 1, it's different. They're seeing all these symptoms dissipate. And then month 2 is where it kind of is like, oh wait, I still have 3 more months of this, you know? And when you're working with the liver gallbladder, that's the center for anger, for resentment.
So for people get mad, they project that onto you.
No, not necessarily. I think that it's just those emotions come up, and then you got to deal with those emotions.
So fucking mad. Yeah, dude. Like, we did go to our men's groups. Pull up, by the way. Like, you go to our men's groups. Like, every man there said they feel this underlying sense of frustration, rage, discontent.
Yeah.
So that's very important to work through.
So oftentimes there can be more fatigue associated with this phase because you're really working with the liver gallbladder. But if you use the right products for the individual, you can kind of vary from that. So you're not necessarily suffering anymore.
Okay, so you got liver gallbladder. You're really diving in there in month 2. What about month 3?
So month 3, we move into parasites and microorganisms. So it's about balancing the microbiome. So a lot of times in the natural health world, you'll hear people talk about how parasites and microorganisms are the root cause of a lot of these diseases. I disagree with that. I think that each human body is an individual ecosystem. We're all a mini universe, and we're designed to live in perpetual balance with all these living organisms, the cells of our body. And so they're not the root cause, but they are a symptom of a larger issue. So if you're accumulating all these excess toxins, you have all this damaged tissue, the role of parasites and microorganisms is to clean up the mess.
Right.
So if you have excess mess, you're going to have excess parasites and microorganisms. So as we've gone through 2 months of cleansing, these parasites and microorganisms are no longer going to be necessary. So then we start using products to start flushing all of those out. And again, this whole time we're flushing with the enemas anyways. We're taking binders anyways to attach to all of the toxins and the dye off. And you're flushing those out to balance it. So think about it like this. If you're walking through a forest and you come across a dead deer, it's going to be filled with maggots and parasites, fungus, bacteria. Did they kill the deer?
No, they feeding on what's already dead.
Exactly. They're cleaning up that mess. And it's the same thing in the human body. So if you want to know the truth about human health, just look at nature. It's always telling you the truth about everything. But we do want to balance it. And when those organisms are feeding on the damaged tissues and the toxins, they release gases that cause joint pain, it causes muscle pain, it can cause nausea or vomiting, it can cause brain fog. And these organisms literally attach to your nervous system and make you crave things that feed them. So then a lot of times people can't break the sugar craving. It's because of the amount of candida calling for that sugar for survival.
Whoa.
So when you cut all that out, you have these organisms just screaming for it, making you crave it so much.
And there's like a mental aspect to that.
Totally.
Wow.
But if we can clear that stuff out, well, then those cravings dissipate, and it's no longer an issue for you.
Your candida demon screaming for that little Twix bar that we were talking about before. Oh my gosh. So month 3 is really like helping heal, resuscitate that microbiome and flush out what eats on the dead stuff that doesn't need to be there anymore.
Exactly.
There's so much less parasites. It wouldn't just be eating the clean stuff.
Yes.
But usually, whenever you're not detoxing or living a low tox lifestyle, that stuff is necessary because it's eating all of the bullshit that you put into.
Exactly. You know, you see some of these guys with those huge beer guts, parasites, bro. Like just filled with parasites.
I don't care how much you lift.
That's true. That's true.
Clean your tummy, dog.
So it's really just about balance. All of this is about bringing balance. So the whole process may seem out of balance because of how crazy you're going to the other side, but you've been living so far out of balance for so long that you need to balance it out that way.
I've heard that argument, like, dude, you're so like you're so spiritual, but you're always looking for something wrong to heal. And I'm like, well, dude, I was poisoning myself for so long, for so many years. I don't think that it would take a very long time to get to where it's like, man, I think I'm going too hard on the detoxing.
Right.
You know, like, so let's go. So, I mean, by this time, what kind of transformations can they expect? Month 1, 2, and 3, let's say they follow the protocol and do what they say. They're working through their emotional body. And then let's transition to month 4.
So month 4, we're going into chemicals and heavy metal chelation. So a lot of these metals are the root cause for issues like Alzheimer's, but MS, Parkinson's. They're diseases of the nervous system because of the amount of metals in the system. So the nervous system is an electrical system. We are electrical beings. We throw a bunch of heavy metals into that electrical system, it's going to cause some dysfunction. Things aren't going to work appropriately. So that's why heavy metal chelation is so necessary. So there's a whole host of different products that help with heavy metal chelation. I like some specific suppositories that I use to chelate heavy metals that cross the blood-brain barrier to clean out the brain. And the transformation for each person looks differently. Typically, it's not linear. They'll feel better, they feel worse, they feel better, they feel worse. And that's just kind of part of that process, not to mention the emotional upheaval that comes. And with the parasites and microorganisms, a lot of emotions can surface. That can be an emotional experience. And heavy metal chelation can really just drain people out. It just wipes them out. And this is why I do this 3 month of work before we even get to heavy metals. And some people never get there. We just don't get that far, and that's okay. If someone's gut is so messed up that it takes a couple months to just focus on gut, then that's what we do, because that's what's really most important, and you can continue this work on your own time. But typically, by the time we're done with month 4, the majority of the individual's symptoms are gone. They're not dealing with any of those symptoms. Now, if they go back and they eat the wrong foods, they do the wrong things, the symptoms will resurface. And that's why I always preach it's permanent lifestyle change. You don't go through this process and going back to eating McDonald's and ding dongs where you're going to feel like shit.
And so bad. It feels so bad, bro.
Totally.
You might be grateful that at least in my experience, like I'm like grateful that it makes me feel shitty, that I can tell that I feel shitty,
Right.
that I can just feel a difference in
Yeah, and I think that's so key, because a lot of people don't even know that they feel like shit all the time because they don't know what good feels like. So when you start this process and they can start to feel what good feels like, and then they cheat, which is part of the process, you're gonna cheat, and then you're gonna get some contrast. Oh, that's what that food does to me? I had no idea that these grains were fucking me up to that extent, you know? And so bringing that level of clarity where you no longer associate these foods or actions with pleasure, but you actually associate it with pain and discomfort. And that is the real switch up here mentally that helps people get well and stay well, because it's no longer worth it.
why would I want to put that bullshit in my body?
Exactly.
That's really interesting about the heavy metals and detoxing in that regard. Like because like you're saying, the heavy metals are in the brain.
Yeah, I mean,
All
so,
the sugar and the whatever that we're drinking, it enters the blood brain barrier.
some things do. So if you look at childhood injections that often have.
So good, dude. Look, we've come a long way since episode 1. Man. We got flagged. We're unflagged in August. I got reprimanded. My first YouTube upload. Yeah, I like that.
So
Childhood.
yes. So they're full of heavy metals, for one. And then there's polysorbate 80, which is a preservative, but polysorbate 80 opens up the blood-brain barrier, which allows these metals like mercury or aluminum to get into the brain.
Well, and then people think they're doing like a good thing. Like, it's like, man, yes, that mindset shift is super important. And it seems that there's a very, like, it seems that you're very, like, I know you're invested with the people that you're working with, and like, you know, you give the shirt off your back to them. Wouldn't we all love to see that? No, I'm just kidding. Like, you really are, like, step by step with it. And I've seen some amazing transformations from some amazing people. I want to, okay, so let's say I'm a hater, right? Matt, why would I give you money to put water up my butt and stop eating my favorite foods?
Yeah, because you feel like shit. And I have a solution for you. That's why. There's really no other solution. Like, you can take drugs and suppress symptoms, but that's going to lead to more symptoms that require more drugs, where they're going to have to increase your dosage all the time. Like, medical treatments have never actually addressed the root cause of a dysfunction going on in the body. They only suppress those symptoms. And so when you do this type of detox process and focus on nutrition, you're addressing the root cause of all dis-ease. And it's not just a physical experience, it's a mental, emotional, spiritual experience. And you clean this vessel, and all of a sudden you are more connected with, you can call it God, the universe, source, energy, whatever. You're going to start to be able to get those downloads, especially when you're integrating the meditations and the journaling through this process. So the whole thing is about eliminating the old physically, mentally, and spiritually in order to make room for the new mentally, physically, and spiritually. And so I've seen a lot of people, not only do they alleviate their symptoms, but they begin on a whole new course of life, and after a whole new purpose, and they know who they are and what they want out of life, and then they have something to work towards, and they have the energy and the clarity to actually accomplish it. And that's really what's most important.
Okay, you might have got me on that one. I'm a hater still. Skeptic. I'm a skeptic. All right, good answer. All right, I'm a little less skeptical now, but let me throw you this one. What is the reason, like, why can't I go do this by myself?
You totally could. And in fact, in our school community, I have all of these resources available. My entire program is in there. You could come in and do the program on your own accord. Absolutely. And I mean, I encourage that. You don't have to pay me. You can come join the free community and you can walk yourself through that process. I think that it can be overwhelming and all this stuff is new to people. And so that's scary. So having that confidence and reassurance from someone that's gone through all of that to kind of support you through that process, who's in the trenches with you. And like I said, so much of it is the emotional stuff that comes up or the goals that they have for their life. And we can work through that while we're doing this systematically. And my one-on-one sessions really have become more about addressing the emotional state, talking about their goals and giving them small steps to do to start achieving those goals and getting things in order and getting things in check. So it's so much more than just cleansing the body. It's who do you want to be? Who do you want to become? And this is just a vehicle to get you there, essentially.
Wow, you really giving my skeptical ass a run for my money.
That's the goal.
Let me just go. Let me give you the skeptic final boss. I just fundamentally disagree with you on everything, and I'm not even sure I like you that much.
Yeah.
What do you have to say to me then? All right, you're wrong. All right, why don't you go check some science? All right, dude. What do you think about that, dude? Why don't you do some research on that?
I would say if that's your perspective, that's totally fine, and you can have that perspective. But I'm here if you ever change your mind and you see a different perspective. You know, like, it's funny when people talk about the research. Where's your research and science to support your claims? But all the studies that come out, especially through the mainstream, are bought and paid for by the industries that are trying to sell you a product. So they're going to give you the results that they want to be published so that you follow through their narrative. And obviously, if what they're preaching worked, then why are 75% of Americans obese and dealing with some type of chronic illness? Why are 65% of children chronically sick? 65% of kids have a chronic illness. So could it be the change of the food, the amount of injections happening to children that's more than it's ever been before? Could it be the fact that we are being inundated with 80,000 different toxic chemicals? I think that the answer to that is obvious. And the further we get from our most natural state of being, the more sick and diseased, depressed and anxious we will become. So it's about reconnecting and getting in alignment with nature and how nature intended us to live.
Okay, well, that was really good. I feel less skeptical now. And I want to be regular Aaron, bro. I love you, bro. Great, dude. Do great work. Is there any final message? Oh, yeah, no, wait. Hold up. We wanted to talk about the ozone. We got the Rife. I don't know what the Rife is. The Rife and the ozone.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
So a lot of people that work with me will upgrade to using Rife and ozone as well. And so they're just other tools in my tool belt to assist people through this cleansing and healing process. So Rife is frequency healing. So the name of the doctor was Rife that came up with the technology, and he realized everything is frequency and vibration. So every disease is also frequency and vibration.
Whoa.
And there are different frequencies and vibrations that can be used to harmonize those ailments.
Okay.
So sickness is a vibration. And this is why, again, mindset and spiritual practices are so important, because you got to raise your vibration to get out of that vibration of chronic illness. So with Rife treatment, anything that you can think of, PCOS, there's frequencies set for that. IBS, celiac disease, there's frequencies for that. Polyps, cysts, fibroids, there's...
Every disease is vibrating at a certain frequency, and what the Rife does is it vibrate at that frequency, or vibrates at an alternative frequency?
Yeah, it's using other frequencies to balance it. So it's all about balance, finding balance within the body. And so it's just going to balance that with the frequencies that are going to oppose the low vibrational frequencies.
That's so dope. Man, I wish we could just give that to our haters. Just anti-hater frequency.
Man, and it's cool too. Like, I had someone recently come in with shingles. And so we did some Rife frequencies for that, and took a couple days and she started to feel better, whereas it can take months to overcome shingles.
Wow. Dude.
So it definitely serves its purpose, and I've seen people completely get rid of rashes just using Rife, so it definitely serves its purpose. It's not something I recommend on its own necessarily, but I think it's a great tool to be utilized with everything else.
Yeah, great complementary
Exactly.
aspect. So
Exactly.
what about the ozone?
Yeah, so ozone is 3 parts oxygen, so it's O3. And so I have people can do it intravenously, so they'll actually take out the blood and fill it with ozone and put it back in. They do that for a lot of like chronic cancer patients. I tend to do it. You can also do it through the ears for allergies and things like that. I usually do intestinal insufflation, so I fill up a bag of ozone, and then people take that bag home and apply it similar to an enema, and just squeeze that gas in, and it overly oxygenates the colon, the small intestine, the pancreas, the gallbladder, the liver, and disease cannot live in an overly oxygenated environment. And it starts to purge fungus and bacteria, candida, parasites. It's very common as soon as you start doing ozone to see parasites and candida in your stools, just big wads of it. It's gnarly.
Wow, with it.
It's not, so that is one of my favorite tools to utilize for people because you get that instant visual of what it's doing for you. And so that's really cool. So, and again, oxygen is our primary nutrient, right? And a lot of us are suffering from an oxygen deficiency because we don't know how to breathe. We're living indoors. We're not getting fresh air. So this is another way to overly oxygenate and absorb excess oxygen for yourself.
That's so cool. It sounds like if you went through month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, you're doing the work, you're journaling, you're really actively making a permanent lifestyle change, and then you're adding the Rife and the ozone in there to complement that, and tapping in with the school community, doing astrology, human design, Enneagram, relationship coaching. Like, we really are, this is why I feel so comfortable, like, not even feel like we're pitching ourselves. It's just what we do.
Right.
It's like why I feel so comfortable doing it, because, like, the person that you are starting here versus the person you become implementing this,
100%.
a night and day transformation. So, you got any final messages to the people?
I don't have any other final messages.
That was fucking dope. Like,
Yeah.
our podcasts are getting close to like an hour now because we're just like getting comfortable.
Yeah.
So,
It's cool.
well, here we are, fellow friends. If you've made it this far, you're a citizen. You're a citizen of the Refreshed Cast community. Hit up our school. It's free, right?
It is. Yeah.
It's free, dude.
It's free.
So we got like free astrology, free tips, nutrition, detox, fasting, like so much information in there. We're doing we've got communication coaching. Like, there's just so many assets that can help you change your life. We're doing this out of the love in our hearts, and we want to see you get better as we continue to grow ourselves.
Totally.
And in episode 22 of the Refreshed Cast out.
And I do want to say that, like, the best thing about the school community is for free you're getting access to 5 coaches who specialize in different aspects of holistic health. And true health is body, mind, and spirit. So we intend to address all 3 of those areas. And for now, you can get access to all of that for free, which is awesome.
Go, take advantage of it, bro. Get your mind right. All right? Refresh Cast out.